We are live. Now, Miss Faith, we are going to click on the Instagram tab and we're going to
Okay.
hit the go live button. Go
All right.
live. I see us over on go live. Now let's go back and hit the StreamYard button and go into the studio if yours says that you are live.
Okay. The stream live button.
Your tab, the StreamYard tab, I think yours is on the left, you were saying.
Okay. Should I right click?
Can you see me? Can you see
I,
me on the screen?
I can definitely see you, but and I don't know if I went live on StreamYard.
No, you're live on StreamYard because I did that. You want go to
Okay.
click on your Instagram tab and see if you see yourself live on Instagram.
Oh, now I see a check mark. Oh, I should see the live red at the top. Okay, let's see. Hold on 1 second.
Absolutely. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Coach Selena, known as the Disruptor Coach, with coaching conversations with Coach Faith Brown of She
Amen.
Ready Ministries. As you can
Amen.
see, we were getting set up a little bit of technical difficulty. You know, sometimes people be trying to keep you from getting the message out, but we are not deterred in any way. We are
No.
here. I'm glad you are here.
Yes, we
Going
are.
to be talking about, and so Miss Faith is just streaming to her audience as well. We're going to be talking about transitioning, embracing the process, and positioning oneself. I thank you for being here. I am Coach Selena, as I said, and I specialize in serving Christian women after cutting ties in narcissistic relationships who are struggling with who they are so that you can know your power and divine identity. I help you have more energy, strength, and capacity to live a purposeful life on your own terms. That's me, and we're going to find out all about Miss Faith. And before that, I do that, I want to give a special announcement. I'm bringing back the Clear Vision Workshop. So be on the lookout for that. Right now, the date is July 3rd. So save the date. I know that's before some of y'all holidays and all of the things, but you can get your vision straight. It's for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone currently that feels stuck in that and they don't know how to move forward and all of those things. So I've run it before. We're going to run it again by special demand. I'm just seeing out in the world a lot of people still feeling stuck and not understanding their purpose. So it's a free workshop. Again, that's July 3rd. And I'll have a link ready for you uh, maybe later tonight or tomorrow. But you'll see all of the good stuff coming out. All righty. Miss Faith, you ready?
I am ready. I am having problems with the Instagram live.
I think you're fine on Instagram because I see the check marks. So
Okay.
if you're in
Okay.
StreamYard, we're ready to go. You're
All right.
ready?
So let's go ahead and get this started, and hopefully we can make sure everybody is able to join us.
Absolutely. They can join. They will see us because I see your check mark, which says you're good.
All righty.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I don't know why my colors on my stuff is going crazy. So that is so interesting to me. It just came out of the blue. It started. I feel like I'm glowing over here, but maybe I'm meant to
You
be.
are. You. It's showing your glow, Miss
I don't
Selena.
know what that
Coach
is.
Selena.
Well, Miss Faith, thank you for being here. She is another coach that is in one of my coaching communities. And I'm so glad that she's here. I want to hear all about transitioning, embracing the process, and positioning oneself from She Ready Ministries. And so I like to ask Miss Faith, how do you show up in the world?
That's an interesting question. I would basically say I show up as me, and what I mean by me is I basically show up as Faith. I'm very I guess I could come off as quiet in the beginning, but what I am, when it's time to
Mhm.
um maybe introduce myself as who I am, it can be a little I would say surprising. Basically, I show up as a surprise, and I show up as me, and people, um what I hear from other people is, when it's time for her to speak, you better listen, because that means she's ready to say something that
All
can either
right.
be helpful in some manner, that is able to inspire or help anybody that is ready to embrace themselves. So that is how I show up as me, Faith,
I love it.
ready to inspire.
And so, what does you said anybody that is ready to embrace themselves? What does that look like when you're ready to embrace yourself? How do they know?
Um, so I would say, right now is that I really, I would say basically acceptance. I'm big on radical acceptance, and so whatever I'm talking about or trying to um, help someone in anything, I would say that if they are learning to accept themselves, they will be embracing some form of radical acceptance, no matter what part of themselves they want to accept or know who they exactly are. They
Hmm.
allow themselves to embrace radical acceptance.
And so, you've said the word radical acceptance a couple of times. What does that mean?
So radical, I hear a lot of different people explain radical. Okay, they may say extreme, or they may say over, just extra or
Wow.
extraordinary.
Hmm.
Radical is just over the top. But I would say, if I would get real deep, is when everything starts to align. And what I mean by that is,
Mm.
um I don't just accept it in my heart. I accept it in my mind. I accept it in my heart. And I also know that my body is responding all alignment with my heart and my mind. And
Mm.
that's the literal definition of radical, but you're gonna hear all types of examples, but that is what I accept as radical. Everything is in alignment in your mind, your heart, and your body.
So, what
Your
made you
spirit.
and your spirit, Shay? So, what made you want to become a coach in this field? What inspired you to do this?
I would say, what made me wanted to come up become a coach is watching myself go through a process. When I started off, when I graduated from school, I wanted to go into law school, and
Hmm.
I entertained that all my life. I'm a lawyer. I like defending others. I'm with the law. You give me the law, I'm going to implement it. But at one point, I was doing a practicum, and I was asked to deliver group group counseling sessions for the practicum. I had to get a grade. And at that point, I fell in love with the group process, and I'm like, wait a minute, I like this. It was in a prison setting, and so I became really inspired by the groups. And so at that point, I went into counseling. So for many years, I've been doing addictions and mental health counseling, in a very diverse background, all different type of backgrounds. But the coach part came in after many years of listening and counseling and practicing modalities. I started to
Mm.
see a shift, like in the way I was delivering. And I said, okay, am I listening or teaching? Am I listening, or am I um implementing? And God just gave me something that said it's time to transition. I was big on
Mm.
processing, so I like to process the feelings, talk about the feelings. And one day, somebody said it's time for psychoeducation. And so when I started to build myself on psychoeducation, that means I shifted from just processing to psychoeducation, um, everybody started to see a shift in me, and not just everybody, but myself. And I began to see God, and God said, it's time to shift in the way you deliver your service. So I'm big on service, and I found myself just coaching. Therapy is therapy and listening, but when you start to coach, you see a shift. It's
Yeah.
different things, and so recently I found myself just, okay, it's time. It's just time. I felt that prompting, and I began to deliver what I know in a different way, and I believe God is building that. He's built it on another level. So
So was there like something significant that created that transition as you think about it?
um so um there's a lot of, I've overcome so much. I saw
Mhm.
myself going through a process. I remember, so I've been a therapist for years, and I remember going through some hard times. I went through a divorce, and that was, I think my divorce was the final one, 2017. But I went through the divorce, and 10 months later, I lost
Mm,
my mom.
mm.
Now, when I went through the divorce, it was like, okay, I had a lot of people around me, questioning and asking, and I was not processing that divorce. I was just like, okay, it's a divorce. Everybody does it. Whatever, I'm gonna be okay.
Mhm.
And so at that time, when I wasn't processing it, and I went through a loss of my mom, who was a very big support, my love, my heart, my everything.
Mhm.
um it was so close, so I experienced a tremendous loss, and i I stayed, for a small period, alone, and I began to look for support
Yeah.
in a way that may not have been healthy. I had friends and they talked to me, but it was just something like pushing and pushing. And so I saw myself getting into situationships and relationships that was not helpful to me.
Mm.
And I end up sinking and sinking and sinking. And so as I got to a low place, for about, I would say, even 3 years after that. And I started to realize this is not helping. This is bringing me lower and lower. And so what happened after that? I began to, um, me and my husband that I divorced. We were in a church for about our 10 years of marriage that we were in for a
Mhm.
while. We left that church. And so I said, I got to get back to something. After
Yeah.
the divorce, me and him split. We wasn't in, neither one of us was in church, and I was in relationships. And so I started streaming services online, in my bed, in my bed, after work, whenever I could.
Okay.
And I was just listening, to some very known pastors, TD Jakes and Sarah Jakes, and I found a preacher. I'll mention him later. I found this preacher, and I watched him every day. I take that back. When Tuesday, at first Tuesday night Bible studies and Sunday night Bible studies, that was the first pastor I was watching. I watched him for a whole year while I was still in this toxic relationship, but I was building something by watching it. And one
Mhm.
day, I just got up and left the relationship. Um, and I watched myself. I had family that moved about a couple hours away from where I was living at the time,
Uh-huh.
and I went to my job and said, "There's nothing here for me anymore. I gotta go. I'm leaving the home that I was in for about 11 years that I was married in. I'm leaving this. And I've been saying I was going to leave. I'm gone." And they were looking at me like, "What? Like, you've been here 6 years. You
Right.
have established a clientele." I said, "I'm gone. I got to go." And so that was just the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Wow.
left. I left that relationship. I found the first apartment that took me. I left the whole house, and I didn't leave the house because it's still mine, but I left physically, me and my
Yeah.
kids, and we relocated. They started a new school system. I was able to transfer my job at the time, and I began to build. And so I found, by watching that pastor, I found he was interviewing another pastor, and I was watching, and
Yeah.
I joined a program, um, and I was in that coaching program, and I'm still in that one for 3 years, and I was building my resilience.
I
Never,
understand.
just building. I learned to. I was reading. I was journaling. I was walking. I hadn't even touched therapy yet, but I was building on me. I chose to start a process of focusing on myself. Um,
Hmm.
Before I left that relationship or that area, I was I couldn't believe that I left a marriage, and got in a deeper hurt, and I was just like, how did I end up like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, that started that resilience. It's been about 6 years ago where it first started process.
Hmm.
And so I'm just it's so much. It's hard to even process everything, but that is how it started. I began to build resilience. I did that coaching program, and I began to put energy into myself, understanding self awareness,
Wow.
understanding, um, that God had showed me something when I was still in that you're gonna help young women and children one day. And I was like, what? I can't even speak up for myself. I'm getting in a worse relationship, and now I'm at a point where I've built the skills. I've went through a traumatic loss, um back to back, back to
Yeah.
back. Yeah. And so to be honest with you, I didn't start I didn't start processing realistically what I went through until 2023. Meaning I went
Mhm.
through all these trainings, these classes, still giving therapy, serving people in the community, serving my
Yeah.
family. And 2023, I got a therapist. I got a therapist. And that helped me a whole lot.
I can I can fully relate to this story. It sounds a lot like my journey. A
Okay.
lot like my journey. Mine started when I was 23 years old and my husband died.
Okay.
Yeah, we were trying to have a baby, get pregnant and all the things, and he died in the middle of those things happening. I end up getting in a relationship with somebody and got pregnant.
Oof, yes.
Yeah, got pregnant. Unbeknownst to me, grieving, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. It's been a long, long, long journey. I can fully relate getting into, more than one relationship.
Yeah.
One was with a married man, like things like that. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah. I mean,
I can
wow,
fully
that touches me that you've experienced that. When I hear that, it speaks of alignment. So
relate.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. I definitely believe in alignment. We end up right where we're supposed to be.
yeah. We do.
There's something in it for us. So I am known as the disruptor coach. And what would you say that you had to disrupt in your life?
Whew, disrupt. When you speak of disrupt, you mean anything I had to stop and maybe take a look at, or basically disrupt something to process something. Um, any type of disruption. Is
Any
that
type of disruption, right? Disrupt when you're disrupting something, you're no longer maintaining the status quo, right? It's disruptive.
there you go?
You've been
Yeah,
disruptive.
yeah. So I'm gonna give you an example. So I was always raised in a certain way. As far as I was raised in church. I had to. It was church. It was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so there was some principles in me. I mean, I thank God for what I was taught, and but I did shift, going to college and living a life. But what I had to disrupt is when I tried to. I remember I still have some tremendous friends, and I would try to be what I thought was the way to be, and I would say like culture's way, or the
Mhm.
or I would say the N way, and I still know you can have fun and be you, but I was always seeking reassurance somewhere, friends, family,
Mhm.
professional, and I would say to disrupt her is showing up, because in this season I'm showing up as me, what God has created me to be. And I've learned, even, I mean, I see it showing up in so many ways that um, I just accepted that I'm designed the way I am for a reason. I used to be so quiet, like, I'm not saying nothing, they gonna say this. I see the disruption taking place every day. Miss Selena, disrupt her. Listen, I'm not saying I never saw the disruption in the past, but today, um, I see me wanting to do things, and I see my desires, but I see God saying, "This is how we're gonna do it, and this is how you gonna show
Won't,
up."
won't he do it?
What did he
Won't
will?
he do it? You think you're going over here, and it's like, no, you're gonna go this way.
All the time, and I mean, all you can do is accept it. What part are you playing in what he has for you? And that's the disruption for me, because I'm faith. That's my name. I'm a faith advocate, but there are times when I'm faith, and then I wake up and I didn't had a whole plan, and he disrupted every time.
Every time he gonna make you surrender for sure. So, what would you say are some key steps to successfully transition in one's personal and professional life?
So what I would say about successfully transitioning is really understanding that um sometimes you resist things that are best for you.
Mm,
I would say in my process, I can definitely, and I have been resistant to things that are helpful for me. But at the same time, I'm feeding the knowledge. I'm hearing it, even though I don't want. I just don't. I was like, why? So for anybody that has been given a vision, okay, God has shown you the vision, so that means you know where it's going, okay. But you have to understand that um there's a process to get there, and a lot of times he doesn't show you the how it's gonna go. And so if you're trying to transition into anything, whether it's moving, whether it's a relationship, whether it's becoming the person you are, it is a process. And with radical acceptance, what you can do is accept what reality is for you right now. Okay. Reality might not be what you think it is right now, but
Oh,
reality, accepting what reality is for you right now, is a way to be successful in any transition. Accepting what reality is, and knowing what you have control over. I mean,
mm.
some things we just don't have no control over.
Yeah, we find that out real quick. You
Yeah,
overworked, you tired, you
yeah,
all this stuff, but you trying to control stuff that you ain't got no control over.
at all, at all. Um,
That's a serious wake up call.
yeah, it. I really, I've been a very, I'm big on emotions and feelings. A lot of people are, oh, you and your feelings. One thing I do know about transition is it's okay to feel, it's okay to cry, it's okay to stomp, it's okay. However, when you done, get the job done.
Yeah,
Um,
because you gonna have to get it done.
you gotta do what you gotta do, even though you feel those emotions. And
Right.
I've been in situations where people don't cry, don't why you crying? Cry, get it out. However, we got to get the job done. We got to do it. Well, we got to accept reality that what has to be done has to be done. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I would just say understand that when you see the vision, hold on to the vision, but knowing that there's a process.
To get there.
Yeah.
Love that. So what is a major transition that you had a client successfully guided through?
Um, I'm trying to think of something that is, you know, radical. So I work with so many diverse populations. I would say the most rewarding when you serving others, whether it's in community, whether it's I would say when I see families reunite. Um, I Addictions. Sometimes you get to see the the beginning of the recovery and what's going on and how they start back living and how they transition from a life that was very devastating or demeaning, or they had to recover in their brain, they had to recover their behavior. And so that's rewarding. Sometimes you don't get to finish seeing that, meaning you don't get to follow them and see how it ends up, but it's still rewarding to see them work that process of not just changing your
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, but your brain has to. You have to retrain your brain. But what I would say is one of the biggest rewards is when I see a mom reunite with her family,
I love
and
that.
she hasn't been with her family for years, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and she didn't have nothing that she thought could bring her back to her family until she worked the process, knowing that you birthed these kids.
Absolutely.
Um, that birthing process, you birthed that, you carried these kids 9 years, and so doing whatever you can to get those kids back in in your life, in your household where they belong. That is rewarding to see someone work that process. And so I would say that's the biggest transition I'm able to see for a long period of time. Um, Helping women um, go through broken periods, relationships, addictions, and
Mhm.
helping them work that process. Trauma is big for me. Um, I really have a burden for working through that trauma process with them. Um,
So
and
now, when you do that, is that happening as a coach or is that happening as a counselor?
So it's as a counselor, but you get to use coaching in some programs where you're able to coach them through those trauma responses. And so
Mm,
what I mean by that is coaching is for the future. And so when you're delivering therapy, of course you're focusing on those trauma responses that come from the past. But if you have somebody that's going that's trying to reach a goal for the future, you're allowed to use that coaching on how to keep them sustaining that progress that they're making to
I
get to the goal. So that is my focus for She Ready Ministries, for the women who need coaching, who need ways to sustain stability, transitioning where they're becoming independent now.
right.
And so they need those help with some of those skills, building that resilience, building um, that networking skills that they need, being able to use the resources so that they can maintain stability as an independent um, young woman. So that is something that when you experience mood disruption or trauma, you really may need coaching through that process. So
Absolutely. I love that. I have I'm still in the process of working through trauma from my marriage and what that all looks like. It's definitely a journey. That's beautiful that you've been called to serve these women in this way.
thank you. I do believe that's a process. Knowing that after being divorced for about 6 years and that therapy process started
Mm-hmm.
in a fifth year. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is you were processing it, but the real work really started years later because it was like, yeah, I'm hurt and I'm writing and I'm in coaching classes and I'm doing this, but when did the real work start? And
Right.
so, yeah, people don't realize how long it can take for to actually do the work. So I'm
Absolutely.
with you.
I'm a testament to that. I will confirm and affirm you in that because it's just not black and white.
No, it's
I
definitely
know
not.
for me, I thought I was fine, and then I started being triggered. And then that's when the real work began. It's like realizing that I was even being triggered and all of these things were happening. Um, wow, wow, that's some heavy work. And
It definitely, it definitely triggers. You mentioned that key word. You have to be aware of what a trigger is and what's triggering you, and what do you do when you get those triggers? What strategies are helping us? Like, what are we gonna put into place?
well, that's a good segue. What are some common things that happen when being triggered and those tips that they need to put in place?
So I would say that everybody is different. I'm gonna be honest. We all experience loss or mood disruption in different ways. Number one, if you're experiencing any kind of loss, I want to say first of all, give yourself space. Do not put yourself in a time frame or a box.
Mm,
Because there are some people that will say, okay, that happened a long time ago, or it's been a while, you should be over that. But when you give yourself space, I would say strategies that are helpful is number one, being self-compassionate to yourself, knowing
mhm,
that okay, this is something that I realize I'm being triggered by. And some common triggers may just be, for example, if you were in a friend group and you were all married at once, and so you all
Mm,
or going out with married couples and traveling as married couples and doing things.
wow.
And then now you're divorced, so you're in a different. It doesn't mean you lose your friends. You just lose
Right.
something that was aimed at married couples. So now you have to adapt to a single life. So that can be triggering in certain situations. It can bring memories. It can bring up, you can begin to ruminate about thoughts of being with, um, in married couple situations. Or a trigger can be you may go to a wedding and you like having the best time of your life, and all of a sudden you trigger.
Right. Boom.
Yeah. And so a trigger can be people asking you what happened. What happened? A trigger can be people bringing up. I mean, triggers can be anything. But whatever you are in that process,
Right.
I would say a strategy would be doing things that you love for you. Um, and that can be a number of things. That can be self care, taking walks, go want to get a massage. I'm just throwing some stuff out there,
Yeah.
like doing things that you love to do. If you like reading, if you like just walks in nature in the park, if you like
Mhm.
exercise, I think that getting to know you again,
Mm,
finding who you are, you can experience a number of activities to get to know you as
yeah.
a single person. So they describe divorce, um, well, loss or divorce, but divorce can be like death. It can be like
Yeah.
a part of you has died. So now you're finding yourself again, and so you have to see what you like. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's the first stage, um, first pillar in my program. Is to you have to get to know yourself, become yourself, and then be yourself, because the situation has changed. Something has changed that caused you to no longer feel either empowered, or you've lost your power, your voice, like you were saying. This is I see an alignment in how we serve these women. Like, yeah, it's real talk. And you're uniquely qualified because you've been through it and come out on the other side.
yeah, yeah. It's
Absolutely.
I really love that you say that. Because even now I learn new stuff about myself every day. And I think that it's happening that way for a reason. Um, what I love to do versus what I think I ought to do, and just doing things that I like to do instead of everybody want to do this. Let's do that. No, nah, I'm doing me.
Absolutely. I also found, and is this common in the clients that you serve, a lot that came up for me, which I was extremely surprised about, were things that I had no idea about me, like that I had abandonment issues, that I was codependent. Like, all of these things came to the surface after experiencing all that, and I finally went inward, like you were saying,
Yeah,
to go do the work, because I needed to find out, like, what in the hell is going on with me?
yeah.
How did I get here? Why am I here?
Why am I here again? Like what?
Yeah.
I
And
love,
you're the only one that have the answer. No one else has the answer. And
no,
I
I
knew
love
that.
it.
I was like,
I
I
love
need
that.
to know why. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the work that you're doing, in helping get these clients ready. So she's ready.
She
Let's
ready.
talk a
Let's
little
get
bit.
it.
Let's transition and talk a little bit about some few things uh, that that potential client might want to know about you? What's one thing about you that might surprise people?
Oh, that's a hard one. Might surprise people. I like to dance. Look, I don't know. Like I make. I like one thing about me is I like to laugh, and so even though we doing serious work when it comes to She Ready, we gonna laugh. We might go outside in the rain and dance. But I want it to be fun, and I want it to be life changing for who's ever ready to accept who they are. And
Mhm.
so I just when you ask me what people may not know about me, I think in the shower. Look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think but no, I mean that's
So do
really
you have a full blown concert when you in the shower?
my
Like
kids laugh at me. They're like, what?
so they can hear you way on the other side of the door?
They might. I'm loud. See, number one, I'm loud sometimes. But I'm learning I shouldn't be loud all the time. But in the showers, everybody might hear me.
I know that's right. Ain't no limits there. That's your time.
Yeah, that's my time. I can sing. No, leave me alone.
So these are a few personal questions. How do you stay motivated and inspired in your own life and the work that you're called to do?
um, so I think seeing when I'm serving others and I see them enjoying the process, that keeps me motivated. There are definitely times when you have to motivate yourself.
Right.
I'm big on affirmations and motivations. And so um that is something that I practice even through prayer, even through the coaching classes that I take. Um I feed off seasoned women. Season If you season, I'm pulling all the knowledge out of you, and I stay motivated by that. I surround myself with people who are they either doing way better than me, or they got their mindset is visionary,
Mm-hmm.
visionary. And so and I just stay motivated by seeing others progress, and the people that I'm working with, watching them
Yeah.
process.
That's
So
good.
yeah, so that is what motivates me. My baby girls, they can run a group. Look, I be like, y'all gonna run a group, but no, I get inspired by seeing whoever's growing grow.
I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
So, what is one of your go-to self-care practices when you need to recharge?
So what do I do? I'm a reader. I'm a little
Mm,
bookworm. So I like to read. They laugh at me, some of my friends, because I like to go to the library. So a lot of times they like, let's meet up and talk about some plans. I'm like, can we meet at the library?
yeah.
But it's like I can go there. It's a quiet place for me.
Yeah.
I can get away. But I like to read. I like to go to the library. I'm a foodie, so like I'm gonna go eat what I want, no matter who with me. I'm going to eat.
So first the library, and then we going to eat.
Yeah, yeah, let's go eat.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I used to like, so I used to like to go travel and get away, but I'm trying to be mindful of. I can't do that all the time. I got to save, but a big getaway for me is doing things I've never done on my own, and that is
Mm,
helping me in this
mm,
season, doing things that codependency. That's another thing that we have in common. For years I was codependent. I would say more on my friends. I couldn't do nothing without them.
mm.
Nothing. Like I mean, literally. And so now a self care
Mhm.
thing is to go do something by myself I never, and
So
it's
what's something you did by yourself that you had never done?
recently I traveled away. I went to another city by myself, but it was so I was so happy because number one, I went because I attend Change Church Global and I was able to be in the building,
Oh,
but
nice.
I was there
That's
for the it was
Reverend. That's Pastor Darius Miles, right?
Dr. Dharius Daniels. Yes,
Darius Daniels. Lord, have mercy.
yeah, I attend Change Church Global and I have really experienced change. When I say
I love
we ain't
that.
gonna talk about the changes, but we probably hit some of the changes. He was the mentor that I joined after I left. Um, actually, I found him through Pastor Keon. I was watching his videos for a year and a half, and I was they were interviewing, and that's how I found him. And I joined Daniel's Den, and
Wow.
I was in Daniel's Den for almost 3 years before I started joining other small programs. But my self esteem, my confidence from watching him and Shamika Daniels, it was just like change. And I like I said, this is a global. I was never able to get in the building, but
Right.
the power that that man is creating change. The God brought that to me in the midst of my hurt and my pain. Um, and I couldn't even speak of the confidence to after I was in the program for like a year, I think a year or two. I posted, thank you
Mm.
for helping me increase my confidence. But I know God sent that ministry to
I
me.
love that. I love that. And it's so amazing how so many things are intertwined. I've watched his growth. My pastor uh, at the time um, was Dr. R.A. Vernon of the Word Church.
Okay. Okay.
And Dr. Darius Miles, I don't know if he still is, but at that time he was part of his gathering of the shepherds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, and where's that?
The Word Church is in Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's so interesting to me to just see how we are all intertwined. Like this,
Yeah.
I
I
like to
mean,
call it the circle of love.
all right now. I like
Yeah,
that. What love is, God is love, right?
yes. And I follow both Pastor Keon and Dr. Darius Miles. I don't know their programs intimately, but I do like how they deliver the word. I love somebody that's got some authenticity and to breaking down what's going on. I love
Yes.
love that. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned that you're a bookworm. And
Yes.
I love to find out like what people are reading and what book or podcast or resource changed your life that you would recommend to others.
All right. So, okay. So before I moved, I read these books, and I tell when I'm telling my story to somebody, I talk to like a friend. I read these books in order. These are the first three books, okay?
Mhm.
But I read a lot of books. But I read "Don't Play It Safe" by Sarah Jakes, okay?
Mm,
And then "The Shift" by Keon Henderson, and "Relational Intelligence." Right, those three books in that order is what I read before I got up and moved. Okay,
uh, what was the last one?
the
Relational
Relational Intelligence is Dr. Dharius Daniels. Okay, that he talks about building your relationship skills and understanding the different relationship styles. He talks about friendships, intimate relationships. He talks about associates and how to place people where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
what was those three books though? Those not the only books that I recommend, but those three books that I read in order led me to where I am. And so now, first of all, I'm in a book club and we're reading "Damaged but Not Destroyed" right now. So
Mm, who
so
wrote
that
that? That's
That's Michael Todd.
yep, I thought.
I done read his book, Relationship Goals. I done read Crazy Faith. So it's a lot of books. I've read Woman Evolve. I've been to Woman Evolve. Um, but those are some books I would say are for they help me those are good for transitioning. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of books that I would recommend. And the books that Pastor Keon and Dr. Dharius, I start reading the books that they like. I got books. I got I got books sitting that I gotta read. That I
Right.
yeah.
Same
And
thing
so
going on over here.
but podcast. Number one, when the first podcast that I started watching was Dr. Anita Phillips and Sarah Jakes in the beginning.
Woo!
In the light. What is it called? In the light. Yeah, in the light. Those podcasts help me with transitioning and understanding. I know Dr. Anita Phillips is a trauma focused therapist. And you know Sarah Jake, she just on on fire. So those podcasts was the first two podcasts I start watching in transition. And
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean I'm still transitioning. But
It's a
another
journey.
one, huh? Yeah,
It's a journey.
it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the Dear Wifey podcast. I started watching it like I think it been like 2 years.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't know that one. Who's that?
so that is Latarius Whitfield or Wheatfield. But what
Okay.
I like about his podcast is he talks about um he's like an advocate for marriages and love that last. And he also interviews divorcees and he interviews singles and um and their experience. And he didn't have some of everybody on the couch now. But that that podcast help me work through some of um the ideas of what marriage really looks like for healthy marriages and understanding like honestly a lot of people get divorced and you just hear them talk about what the other person did and what they did, but what are you doing? What are you doing to be the person that that is what God desires for marriage? I'm gonna leave that. That's another podcast. I'm not a relationship coach, but
Right.
I like that podcast can help you identify some of the things that you can work on in
Right.
yourself and just get in those conversations that can be very uncomfortable. Um,
Absolutely.
so that
Absolutely.
podcast, I went to see that podcast when he was at Change Church. It was like on point. I'm like, oh, I like that podcast, and I get to be in the building. Oh, I'm so,
Total alignment. Total alignment. I love that. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, that was awesome for me. So I love that. But yeah.
I love that. I love that. This is good. Well, tell the folks how they can find you. Where are you at? What you doing?
So please reach out to me on IG. Y'all, you guys can DM me on Facebook Messenger or Faith Counseling 10. Please DM me and I will give you information to my website that is a little under construction, but we ready. She ready. If you're interested in sustaining transition through radical acceptance, that is where we're going to go. Um, if you just need somebody to talk to and you need some resources for mood disruption, and that is what I am specializing in right now, helping women who are struggling with mood disruption and they need some strategies to basically overcome um, trauma responses, loss, or any life event. Reach out to me and I'll be sure to release some resources or you can actually work through a program for you. So please DM me at Faith Counseling 10. That's where you can find me at this point.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
on IG. um, yes. Was that what is that was list?
I was gonna ask you, is that Instagram? And if so, to DM you on Facebook, who are you on Facebook?
So you can pull up Faith Brown or Faith Bozeman. You should be able to pull my name up on Facebook. Um,
Okay.
or you can just go through Messenger. I do have a website, but I want you to DM me for that information. Okay, at Faith Counseling Team. Um,
Faith Counseling 10 on Instagram and Faith Brown on Facebook.
yes,
Hit her up in the DMs. Now
please.
you've said this word more than once, and I'm not sure everyone know what is mood disruption.
Oh, so mood disruption. I'm gonna give you a layman's term. So mood disruption is anything. Is when um you experience a mood change due to either it could be chemical imbalance, but it can be hormonal changes, it can be grief or loss, it can be any life event where your mood is no longer the normal mood. Okay, that's the layman terms definition. What that means
Mm,
is my normal mood has been disrupted. I am no longer feeling the way I would normally feel. Okay, dysregulation has occurred, and I would like help with strategies for changes in that mood. Okay. And when I say resources, Miss Kelly, there are people that may be experiencing mood disruption caused by something other than a life event, trauma, or transition. So if it's medical, then I can give you resources to find out if it's medical or um, hormonal. That means you need a little bit more than she ready.
mm.
However, that's where resources come at hand. But I would like to coach you through those strategies. And if you need therapy, then I can give you resources for that.
That's so good. That's good. I definitely experienced a mood disruption in my life, and that's what triggered me to know that something was off. Like I needed more help.
Yeah.
Then I was in therapy. I was actually seeing a Christian counselor, and it's when I started realizing that I was experiencing trauma, and then I was diagnosed once I actually got the trauma therapist with PTSD trauma stressors.
Okay. Okay.
And so
So
I
that's yeah.
I feel every bit of this. Man, this is so good. Um,
I
it-
appreciate this. And I have experienced mood disruption from loss, trauma responses, transitioning, um, just many transitions. And I just want to share that like this is not just from me working in the field, because working in the field has definitely helped me help others, but understand that um, learning from experience is also a plus. So thank you, Miss Selena, for sharing that with us.
Absolutely, definitely knowing something versus experiencing something is very two different dynamics. I
Yes.
believe knowing something is when you know it, but you're experiencing it through someone else's lens.
Ooh. Ooh.
Then when you experience it
There you
yourself,
go. There
it's an
you go.
entirely different lens.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
doesn't always look like what you know. And
There you
it's
go.
either because your glasses were foggy the entire time, and
Yeah.
then now you're beginning to get clear because
There,
you're stopping to allow yourself to embrace the process.
there
It's
you go. That's good, Miss Selena. Thank you. That's right.
absolutely, absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to share that I did not ask, Coach Faith?
Um, no, I just hope that I just want to say thank you again, Miss Coach Selena, for being able to share what we really have in common. And I just want the people to know that hang in there. Hang in there. We coming in a new season. And whatever you're ready for, let's get it. And so that's about it. I don't have any other things to add. But thank you guys, whoever was able to view this podcast. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. But before we go, there's one final question that I have for you that I ask all my guests. And I want to know if you have any questions for me.
So, Coach Selena, what have you radically accepted lately? I'm
Radically
so sick.
accepted lately. I would say what I radically accepted lately is my diagnosis.
Okay.
I don't always believe everything. I I don't just accept something because someone says it.
Okay.
Um, and so that diagnosis came for me back in October 2023.
Okay.
And I'm just to the point where I'm accepting it. I've been going through, so I meet with so I've had a therapist every year since I made the decision that I was divorcing my narcissistic husband
Okay.
because I had become disconnected from myself. And so that was in 2019 that I had a therapist. And I've had a therapist every year because I recognize as I continue to heal, um, I no longer need them for that initial reason that I required therapy. And so then
Okay.
it's time to find someone else for the additional information that I now have and the person that I've become
All
now that
right.
I've gotten healed or gone through the healing of that.
Okay.
And so now I have a psychologist, um, and she specializes in trauma. She specializes in the things that I'm dealing with because not only is it mental, there is also a physical aspect to it as well. And what do they call it? They called it the social. I can't even remember. So one of the things that I deal with is tight pelvic floor. It's because this is where I carry my stress unbeknownst to me. I also have IBS. I have irritable bladder and bowel uh, issues, and so um, it was a lot. And I was going through therapy, but what did they call it? It's a special therapy, tight pelvic floor therapy. And at first, they had diagnosed me with weak pelvic floor, and it turns out it's tight. It's so tight um, because of what I'm experiencing. The body holds all of that, and so it knew it before I knew it. I
Okay.
just knew that I was having all of these physical ailments. And when I was going through the therapy, the physical therapy, the pelvic floor therapy, it was not working because I was being triggered all the while at the same time.
Mm.
And they told me that I had to stop the therapy and address, that's the word, psychosomatic. I had to address the psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's
Like,
the. I see. That's a lot of the trainings and all that in the body, connecting the body and the sensations in your body. That's very educational. I asked you that question because listening to the healing process and the therapist that I chose, she was also she dealt with trauma, um and she also was had a doctorate in ministry, and so it's very helpful to be able to relate in so many areas when it comes to addressing your own trauma versus helping someone else with their trauma. And
absolutely.
so
You have
that
to have that different view.
yeah, yeah, and understanding what narcissistic relationships are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a different perspective about what's going on in the space around narcissism and narcissistic relationships. Um, I'm just getting to the point where I can communicate that.
Hmm.
So my messaging and a lot of things are going to change. I am
Okay.
going to begin share more of my story because one, I felt like I didn't have the skill set to really even share my story. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't bleeding all over folks and
Yeah.
all of the things. So I really I think it was yesterday, maybe it was today. I just released, I did a post uh, today actually sharing uh, kind of where it started.
Okay.
When I recognized that I didn't know who I was.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you for inspiring me. I love it. I love it, Coach Lynn. I
Oh,
do. I
you're
do
welcome.
because you mentioned it, bleeding over people. That is one of the biggest reason why I started therapy. Just managing the emotions, emotional management. Yeah, that's another sign that the mood has been disrupted. When you're not managing those emotions in a healthy manner, and so yeah, I want to make sure.
And that's exactly why. And part of it too, I realized I was still uncovering how to help people as I was going along, like some of the
Yeah,
answers weren't there yet. I
yeah.
still had things that I needed to uncover to even be able to help someone.
There
And
you go.
like actually just last week I had my help system. Like I know who I help and I know how I can help them. And then Spirit gave me so that they can have the energy, strength, and capacity,
Oh,
right? To be able to even
yes,
live a purposeful life.
yes. That's
Right.
I
And
love how developing those statements because I had to tweak mine when I realized, wait a minute, I'm not a relationship coach. However, the mood and the symptoms related to that is what I want to help. So
that
I revamped that help statement, and it helped me n- truly know what I'm stepping into. Clarity.
absolutely.
It's every day you're increasing the clarity. So I like that.
Clarity. See, that's why my workshop is called the Clear Vision Workshop because the the moment you get clear, then it sets up for everything else that you can do because that's likely why you're stuck, right? Because you don't have the clarity.
You don't you like I can do that. I like that. I do that. This is it. This is me every day. This is love
Absolutely.
it.
And
Yeah.
it just takes off. So my clients are having amazing success. And so I'm honored to be in this space to share it with you as a fellow coach. We got lives to change. I like to liken it to sometimes fighting fires and saving lives.
I know that's right. What they say. Listen, I'm gonna start quoting them quotes. She ready. That's my
She
thing.
is ready,
I had
y'all.
everybody saying she ready.
She is ready. That makes me think of Tiffany Haddish. I think that was her book. I read her book. I really enjoy reading autobiographies. I want to hear other
Okay.
people's stories and how they made it through. Um, Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastical.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you could make it and join us tonight. And any last things you want to say to the people before we get out of here, Miss Faye?
Um, I don't know. Have a great night. Remember, some people say you are what you eat. I think you are what you think. So remember, evaluate them thoughts. That's
Absolutely.
all I got, really. That's
All
all I
right.
got.
Well, all I have to
Love
say
y'all.
is be good to yourselves. Be good to yourself. I love you all. Thank you. That's our time. Until next time, I'll be back next Sunday. We have another new guest. And then I'm also be on the lookout. I'm dropping the Clear Vision Workshop. It is a free workshop. I've got a lot of meat in there for you to get clear. I um, define your why, and we do money generating activities so that you can see what having your why costs and take your dreams from just being a dream to reality. That's our time. Be
Man.
good to yourself. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we're going to end